Hey, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to do something a little bit different. It's a snowmobile hood. Stay tuned. So as I said, something a little bit different today. This is a Snowjet Sabre Jet hood, 1974, and my job is basically to get this thing painted. And it's got, I mean, it's kind of scabby. It's already been repainted, I think, at least twice before, as far as I can tell. This underneath here, as I scraped it back to get the original color of paint, that's the original color. So it's going to get painted. Now there's a couple of ways you can paint these. You can paint them with the kind of the black in the center like this. This is all supposed to be black up here, flat black, semi-gloss black. Or some of them also have this section in white here as well, all white inside here. So they had also a white stripe on the bottom and that kind of thing. So I think the gentleman that owns this, buddy of mine, is going to go with the white inside, and then we'll do the black on the top, and then we'll go with the original blue everywhere else. There's a lot of spider cracking on this hood. So I'm just in the process of highlighting. I'm going to show you here. I've taken a silver Sharpie and I just started highlighting all of the spider cracks that are all over this. And you know, the reality is, I think, in order, like, I'm no fiberglass genius. I'm not a professional fiberglass guy by any stretch, but I know enough that if you just paint over that, all those cracks are just going to come back. The problem is, I think in order to do the proper repair on this, which is basically take it right back to the gel coat and potentially re-fiberglass, the amount of time and money that would take to do would probably end up costing more than this sled is actually worth in its entirety. Again, this is not unusual for old snowmobile hoods that are all made of fiberglass. Now they're all kind of composite plastics and that kind of thing, so this doesn't really happen as much anymore. But even down the edge here is all chewed up. That needs to be repaired. Fairly straightforward fiberglass repair. But yeah, it's gonna be a fair whack of work. And even in here, right, I mean, I've not even done the tracing yet on these cracks, but you can see all through the black. Like, it's just absolutely everywhere. The other thing that I've done is I've shaved off the 440 decals off here, and then I've taken a tracing of the Snowjet decal off the side. And then my son's going to recreate the vector files so I can pass this along to a graphics company to get them recreated. All right, so on the advice of my buddy, who's the body shop guy, he agreed that it just didn't make sense to try to re-fiberglass this thing. But what he did recommend was start taking it down past the gel coat in the worst spots and using a short strand fiberglass filler. He said that's what he generally does with this sort of stuff, just from a practicality perspective. So I've started using the grinder. Got a bit of snow here on the ramp at the back, and this is all the gel coat. So I've got gloves on, I've got my coveralls on, I got a mask on. I don't want to be breathing this stuff in. And I just got a flapper wheel on the body grinder just to take, and as opposed to trying to, you know, Dremel every single individual line, I just decided that in the areas where it was really bad, just take the whole patch down through the gel coat and go from there. So yeah, it's let's give you a close-up look there. So there's some spots that are quite bad that I will put a bit of super glue in just to give it a bit of reinforcement. Like in here, well, clearly something has started to punch through there. Do that before I fill it. And then the other thing I'll do is I'll take a sander out here, so when I put some of the short strand fiberglass filler on, you know, you end up with a little bit over here, but you kind of need to feather this stuff back so it sticks, and I'll do that as well. I'll get all these decals ripped off, and yeah. So now I got to clean everything off before I take it back inside the shop, because otherwise it's going to end up all over the bikes. out back of the shop. Looks like a Smurf murder scene back here. Holy cow. Alrighty, so all the grinding's done, and I've taken the decals off. The cool thing about taking these decals off, the original blue, the gel-coated blue, is underneath kind of relatively unscathed, so that'll help making sure that I get a decent color match for the original Snowjet blue. Yeah, there's some ragged edges on the bottom, so they're going to need to be fiberglass repaired, and then everything else is going to get a little bit of this super glue just to kind of penetrate into the fiberglass where the cracks might be. And then what I am going to use is over top of everywhere where I ground away the gel coat, I'm going to use this Evercoat Glass Light. This is a short strand fiberglass filler, and probably what I will do is mix a little bit of fiberglass resin in with this. It just makes it smoother, thinner, and it flows out a little bit better, especially when you have to flood a pretty large area like that. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I've flooded the fiberglass in the areas that I ground out with that super glue. And of course, critically important that that you wear rubber gloves for that sort of stuff if you try that, because you're putting, I mean, I put so much glue on here to sink into these cracks that I mean, it stuck all the fingers of the gloves together. So yeah, you don't want to get that on your hands, that's for certain. Anyway, that part is done. So once that dries, what I am going to do is I'm going to sand it again, because I still need a rough surface for this glass-like filler to stick to. And by putting the glue on there, you kind of end up kind of glazed it over a little bit. So I'm concerned that I'm not going to get the bond that I want. So I am going to sand that again, and then once that's sanded, then I can mix the filler. All right, so we've got the short strand fiberglass filler on there. Everything's kind of been flooded over with that stuff. So once that flashes off, we can get to sanding it. It'll be a lot of sanding. And then what I didn't do is I haven't touched any of this stuff really at the bottom yet, because that's going to have to be use some fiberglass mat and cloth there to rebuild some parts of that. So I really haven't done much down there yet. And same on this side, it's kind of chewed up along the bottom, so can't really do that with filler. Okay, so this is the kind of the glazing filler, or I guess the main filler that I'm using. Lots of stuff, metal glaze. So that's gone on top of the fiberglass reinforced filler that I used initially. So I put the fiberglass filler on, I sanded everything smooth, and now I'm putting the glazing filler on as the kind of the final coat. Once all that's sanded off and smooth, I am going to go and fix these bottom edges. But yeah, it should be should look okay when she's done. A lot of filler. But the good news is, I mean, a lot of this stuff you end up sanding it back off again, but you've got to have a decent amount on in order to get a good finish on it. But yeah, should be fine. All right, so here's what the hood looks like after I've sanded the I call it the top coat filler, the glazing filler. Still quite a few little blemishes still to go. So basically I just kind of gone around with a pencil and marked any of the low spots that still need to be filled again. And then I started to grind away the bottom edge here where it needs all new fiberglass laying in there. What I've done to try to stabilize it a little bit, some of it was delaminating, so I put super glue in the delamination, and it's not a simple delamination, because to be honest, I don't know if you can see inside here or not, but it's been repaired quite poorly a number of times, so it would just be more work then the hood is actually worth in cost to repair this. I'll use the word properly, because I have to take all of this old patch fiberglass out, and my buddy has indicated to me that this is just going to be a showpiece. It's not going to get ridden or trailered or anything like that, so we just have to make it look presentable and hopefully last, but it doesn't have to withstand the banging and the smashing of riding around in a trailer too much. That being said, I still want to try to give him the best repair I can while keeping it economical. So we'll see how that unfolds. I'm going to, I think, lay some fiberglass mat or cloth or something on the outside here, and then fill it over top once it dries. Use fiberglass resin. And similarly on this side is quite bad also, especially down here. And then the bottom edge here has snapped off. It's gone, so it has to kind of be repaired to look a little bit like that. But yeah, it's there was a lot of cracks. So I put fiberglass mat and resin along the bottom here, and basically rebuilt the bottom edge of the cowl. And then once that dried, I cut it off level, and now I've got fiberglass short strand filler on top of that. Did the same on this side where it was all chewed up. So that once that dries, I'll sand that off, and then we can put a finished coat of filler on that. And then I'm going to go over the whole cowl one more time. When I say go over it, just kind of gently using my hands to feel any potential rough spots, smooth them off, fill in any low spots before I hit this with primer. And I think what I'm going to do, just because I can't prime this outside because it's just too cold here now. Like, we're getting down into the -4 to -8 during the day, and so it's just too cold to paint here. So I do have to do this at my buddy's place. So I'm just gonna do a light rattle can primer job initially, just to kind of help me look for any spots that I might have missed. Because what I don't want to do is spend the time and the money going to the paint booth and spraying this primer, only to find out then that I've missed something major. So I'd rather just use a rattle can on it initially, and then flat it back one more time, fix any of the obvious issues, and then throw the quality 2K primer on it at the paint booth. And then I can bring it back, give it a light sanding, and then head back to put the top coat on it. But yeah, I mean, and I can already see and feel a few spots here and there, but that's kind of just, you know, generally part of the process. So we're getting there, a little bit at a time. So that is just a coat of rattle can primer, flexible bumper primer, basically, just because I like to use that stuff on plastics and fiberglass. And most of this is probably going to get scuffed off. It's just really to help me highlight any areas that are going to need more attention before I head to the paint booth for the 2K primer that I'm going to spray out of the gun. So the other thing I'll do, so here's, before I say any more, you can see a little spot right there. One there, one there. So that's kind of stuff it helps to show up. I am going to have to re-drill these holes for the badge before I go to the paint booth as well. But generally speaking, it looks like the majority of the bodywork can now be declared officially done. And then we're into the fun part soon, spraying paint. Yeah, I'm not sure how easy it is to see this with the lighting here at the moment. It's not that great. However, what I did with the snow jet is I took a tracing of the decals, the decals on the side, and took the measurements from that. So my son's going to recreate the snow jet decals that go on the side, and the also the 440. So once the vector file is created by my son, that's going to get passed off to a local decal company, and they will recreate these in white. All right, so the white paint is on. It's just going to be kind of a thin white stripe on the bottom here. And then center of the hood here will be white. Again, just a little bit out here. Same with this side. We'll wait for that to dry for a good hour before I have to tape it. And then we'll get to painting the blue. All right, so we got it taped up, masked off. A little tricky in some spots to get it the way I wanted it, but should be fine. I tried to blank off some of these vents of the holes just to stop a certain amount of overspray from coming up underneath. I had to mask it off from the inside as well, just to, because otherwise the blue paint will find its way underneath into the areas where the white's going to be. So just trying to avoid that as much as possible. All right, so the blue is done, white is done. The reason this is masked off here is I had a little bit of blow-by from through the masking tape. So there was a little blur of blue in there, so I've dusted that back in. I'm gonna give it one more little dusting, and then this will be ready for clear coat. Alright, so there's the clear coat on. Looks pretty good. Alright, so there is the freshly made Snowjet 440 decals for the hood. And the hood's already gone back to my buddy, but next time I'm down there, I'm going to swing in and get these on the sled for him, and then she'll all be done. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.